predicting the 2023 F1 Championship from 20th to 1st. Let's begin with P20. I have gone for Logan Sargeant. Yes. Now, this might well be seen as slanderous, considering Williams have actually been pretty good in pre-season testing. And I'm not saying now, after seeing Sargeant perform in testing, that he is going to be finishing P20 every single race. However, there is a bigger challenge ahead, and that's getting into the top 10. This is a championship prediction table. And I feel like even if Williams come out the blocks quite decent, they may well struggle to continue that development. A little bit like how we see Haas, I suppose, in the last few years. They might come out firing, but then they struggle to keep up with the other teams. You've got teams like Haas now that have cash money with their sponsor MoneyGram. Williams, I'm not so convinced. So that's why I'm going to lock in Logan Sargeant.
No one will be surprised that I've also gone for Logan Sargeant in P20. People seem to get confused by hating and realism, because at the end of the day, he's with a team who finished comfortably last in the Constructors' title. I don't think they're going to improve a huge amount. He's a rookie against an underrated driver. So I don't think he's going to be terrible. But like you say, this is a championship. And, you know, even if he's finished... Look at someone like George Russell, right? He had a great season, but didn't score a point in 2019, was it, for Williams? So I can't see anyone but Logan Sargeant being P20.
P19, I've gone for Nick de Vries. Now, this one, I have to basically back the fact that I predicted maybe he wasn't going to do so well this season. I don't think AlphaTauri are going to do particularly well this season. And this one you might think, oh, why have you not gone for Albon? But I think Albon last year was actually really good. And he took advantage of when that Williams worked. And it didn't work that often, but it worked. Especially with everything going on around AlphaTauri, potentially it being sold, I just don't see them fighting for points. So that's why I've gone for Nick de Vries, being the rookie in the team as well, even though he doesn't want to be called a rookie. He's a rookie. P19.
So P19... we have gone different. I've gone for Alex Albon, but I think the thing here is I wouldn't be surprised if Albon occasionally would beat an AlphaTauri and stuff, but you need those crazy races. If you think that reliability these days in Formula One, you don't get many races where you get a chance to get points realistically. And that was proved last year with Williams and the year before. And the year before.
Listen up, everybody. We've got our first P1 sponsor. And it's none other than Surfshark, an app or browser extension that allows you to put your laptop or device anywhere in the world. What benefits does this give, Matt? I hear you ask. Well, if you fancy watching a show on Netflix that's restricted in your country, all you have to do is change your location via the Surfshark app and boom, job done. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. What's better, there is zero risk in trying Surfshark. There is a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can purchase with confidence. I'm not done yet either. A VPN, virtual private network, protects your data through encryption, meaning that anyone who fancies a look at what you're up to won't be able to see what you're doing or where you are. Want to go one step further with protection? Surfshark Antivirus is another product from the Surfshark family, where you can keep your device virus-free with real-time protection. So what are you waiting for? Go to surfshark.deals/P1 and use the code P1 for an 83% discount plus 3 extra months free. Link is in the description and the top comment. We now go to 18th, and this is where I have gone for Alex Albon. I think there will be those moments where Alex Albon capitalises on a car that actually works. Now, that Williams will probably not work for most of it. It had a very unique philosophy where it would just rock up one weekend and actually be on the pace. It's just those weekends that I think Albon will be able to make the most of. And that's why, 18th place is nothing to write home about, but I think Albon will take that spot.
So in P18, I have gone for, it pains me to say it, Yuki Tsunoda. I am backtracking already on my teammate comparison video, but yeah, I'm putting Tsunoda in P18. The more I think about it, the more I am worried for him this season. I think he might have a few crazy moments like he does and not score the points he needs.
Okay, we now move to P17, and I've gone for Yuki Tsunoda. I think that he's going to have a better season than De Vries. He has to step up. Whether he will is up for debate. But I believe in Tsunoda. He's had enough time now to bed himself into the sport. He does have the pace. He closed the gap to Gasly last year. Yes, he had some absolute shockers as well, but realistically, on a pace level, he was a match a lot of the time. So Yuki Tsunoda, step up. He can think about his restaurant as well. You know, when he's in the car, I can finally maybe open that restaurant with a few more points finishes. P17.
So P17, I've gone for Nick De Vries. The reason I changed my opinion is kind of hearing more about Nick De Vries, particularly when we're watching testing and things like that. It sounds like he's got pretty amazing work ethic and dedication. I can just see him being maybe a bit more level-headed, even though he's the rookie. We saw it with his performance in Monza, where we can say he was driving a Williams at the time where it was their best race and all he had to do was beat Latifi. But he got that important point and didn't do anything silly like trying to overtake someone and costing them that point. And I feel like over a season, De Vries might be that person.
We now move to P16. I'm going to lock in Kevin Magnussen. As much as I did say that they are going to have a lot more cash money in the bank, I don't feel as though they are going to be particularly fast. I think that they will have the odd points finishes, and I think Magnussen alongside Hulkenberg will be decent. I think they'll have some good drives. I just don't think Haas, the fact that they are cutting down on their pit wall, for example, maybe suggests they don't have as much money in the bank as everyone is now suggesting with this MoneyGram sponsor. So I feel as though they'll have an average season. There won't be podiums for Haas, and Magnussen will take 16th.
So for 16th, I've gone for Valtteri Bottas, which is very far down the list, I think, for a lot of people. And
wow,
yeah, you've your eyes have lit up. So this is probably one of my most controversial ones, but I just don't think Alfa Romeo are going to have a very good season. I can't see them improving up the field much. I think the cars that I've put ahead of them will be better, and I just don't see Alfa Romeo kind of being this team that's going to suddenly overnight become amazing in time for Audi to take over. So yeah, Bottas 16th.
Good Lord. That I disagree with wholeheartedly, and I think you are completely washed. Okay, we now move to P15, and I've gone for Hulkenberg. So that kind of matches the Haas not believing in them, I suppose, approach that I've gone for in this prediction format. I think Hulkenberg will have a better season than Magnussen. I think people will, as I've said before, realise that Nico is actually a very good driver, a very consistent driver, a solid midfield competitor, and he will pick up the points when that Haas works. I'm not convinced it'll work all the time. But yeah, I think Hulkenberg is a solid driver lineup for Haas, exactly what they need, but I don't think the car will be there.
P15, I've gone for ZHOU GUANYU. No surprise, really, as I mentioned, that I don't think the Alpha's going to be all that, but I think that ZHOU is going to beat Bottas this year. Not by a huge margin, but a few points. And yeah, he'll have his moments and show what he can do when their gearbox isn't failing.
My next prediction, P14, is ZHOU GUANYU. So this is where the Alfa Romeos start to creep into my prediction. None of this washed Bottas stuff from Tommy, but, you know, each to their own. And I think ZHOU, again, will have a good season. I think he will have moments where he beats Bottas, like we saw last year. But I just have this feeling that he'll be riddled with problems again. And I feel as though Bottas, in the state of mind that he's currently in, I feel like he's very free-flowing, a really happy man at the moment, that I feel like that will help his performances. Like when he announced that he was leaving Mercedes and then just started performing incredibly. I think that mindset for Bottas can't be understated. So that's why ZHOU GUANYU will lose out to Bottas. And for me, he will finish in P14.
So P14 for me, I have gone for Kevin Magnussen. I think Haas will be in the midfield mix a lot more than they were last year. However, the reason he's in 14th is because I think he'll just K-Mag will do K-Mag things, like we've said so many times, and just occasionally he'll have his moments, but then also have his moments where he's taking his front wing off on the first lap and stuff. So
P13 now. This one was difficult for me. I've locked in Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin, but for me, Lance Stroll won't perform to the level of what Fernando Alonso will this year. I think Stroll will be playing catch-up, of course, with those first few rounds missed, in my opinion. He might be back for the first race, and this is complete rubbish. But it's difficult to predict that, and it's also difficult to predict how Stroll will be, because I think he will also take a little bit of time to bed in, as he's had no pre-season testing, so he comes back. You can't really expect a fully motivated Lance Stroll, who might be thinking, but my seat might... Oh, wait, no, my seat won't be up for grabs, because Lawrence Stroll owns the team. That's why I've gone with Lance Stroll P13.
P13, I have gone for Oscar Piastri. Now, I think this is... I thought he would do better, but since watching testing and the awful start that McLaren have had, I think someone like Piastri as well, who really needed McLaren to hit the ground running so he could get as much time in the car as possible without the wheel brows falling off and having all these problems. They don't look particularly quick, and I worry that they're going to have an absolute stinker of a season, particularly at the start, and they may well catch up eventually, but when you're a rookie, you kind of need the car to be good from the start. Through some fault of his own, but I don't think a huge amount of fault of his own, I think Piastri, I've gone way down in P13.
Well, it's not as controversial as you might think, as we now head to P12, and I've gone for Oscar Piastri. I feel as though, McLaren on the back foot massively. I don't believe they'll be on the back foot for long, especially if you literally go back 1 year ago. They had enormous problems at Bahrain, but then they still managed to pick up some decent points, especially in the hands of Norris. Piastri didn't have the cleanest of tests. There were quite a few mistakes in there. Of course, part of that being the McLaren not working properly, but also part of it potentially pushing the car a little bit too hard.
So P12, I've gone for NICO Hulkenberg. I think he's going to score a good amount of points. I feel like Haas will be good at the start of the year, and Hulkenberg, I think, is the man to be picking up like P8s, P9s, P7s occasionally when there's races that go in his favour. Not podiums, but the points scoring, and this is a championship prediction, so that's why he's so high up on the list.
Okay, let's move to P11, and I've gone for Pierre Gasly. I'm not convinced, as much as Alpine, and we spoke about it in our testing roundups, really anonymous. But I don't think we can just immediately say they aren't going to have pace, because the regulations haven't changed a huge amount, and Alpine were, by the constructors' standings, the fourth fastest over the course of the season. I still think he will beat the likes of Piastri, Stroll, etc., because the car will be good enough for him to pick up points on a regular basis. So that's where I've gone for Pierre Gasly.
We seem to agree with everything Gasly related this year, because I've also gone P11 Pierre Gasly. Alpine are a weird one because we didn't really get a gauge of how good they were in testing. But I just can't see him finishing ahead of the people that I've put further. So P11 for Gasly.
We now get into the top 10. This is where the money is made. For me, P10 goes to Valtteri Bottas. I think, as I say, he's going to have a solid season. He looks good. He's having fun. He has a silly testing helmet. I just feel like he is the most relaxed Bottas you can have. And let's not forget, all right, Tommy, this time last year, he was banging it in like an absolute legend at the start of the year, picking up points left, right, and centre. Then the car fell away. Bottas's performances fell away a little bit as well. Perhaps lost a bit of motivation, but he's back. Valtteri, don't forget how good he is at qualifying as well. I'm fully on the Bottas hype train. Forget the Ferrari hype train. Let's get a top 10 finish for Bottas and prove Tommy wrong. Let's go.
P10, I have gone for Lance Stroll. I kind of ummed where to put him higher or not, but it changed because I do think the Aston's going to be good, but then he's going to miss a few races potentially. Time of recording, obviously, we still don't know if he's going to miss the Bahrain Grand Prix. And sorry, but I can't put him too high because he's Stroll, and he's not particularly set the world on fire, has he, with his performances. So even if that Aston is good, I just don't see him sort of. He's just going to be that sort of like bottom of the midfield guy that creeps in to get quite a few points finishes. So yeah, P10 for Stroll.
Okay, we now move to 9th place. And I've gone for Esteban Ocon. I think that he's going to have a better season, as I said, than Gasly. I'm not convinced the Alpine's going to be lightning quick like it was last year. But hey, it's only testing. Don't make too many assumptions. But here's me making lots of assumptions. I'm going to back Ocon for P9. I think he is going to have another solid season. I do wonder whether that teammate rivalry will overload. Ocon does love a bit of spice with his teammate. So I wonder if there might be a few points lost there as well, which might impact him fighting 8th, 7th and so on in the driver's standings. But 9th will still be a good season, I would say.
I've gone in P9 for Lando Norris. Yeah, quite low down. I think, for me, I just think McLaren aren't going to be any good. And particularly at the start of the year, the reason he's so much higher than Piastri is because I do think, yeah, Lando Norris will do Lando Norris things and put that car absolutely, where it shouldn't be, realistically. Because I don't think that car is going to be any good for maybe the first 4 or 5 races in particular. But I just worry he's going to get left behind with how dreadful that McLaren looks now from testing. But it's only testing.
P8 for me is Lando Norris. He's one of those drivers that just makes the difference. And I think as soon as that car is good or good enough, he'll be picking up points. You know, I've said this before, but that ridiculous stat of him being in the top 5 of percentage inside the top 10 finishes of all time, that says a lot about what he can do. I know he hasn't had as many races as a lot of drivers, but you can also say that the McLaren has been a dog at times since he's been there. So the fact that he can make the difference is a key thing there. And I also, as much as McLaren might look rubbish at the start, again, last year, they picked it up and Norris was able to score points. So for me, yeah, I think Norris will get P8. And I think Tommy is going to be putting his smug face on, because if he does the calculations, then his prediction of a certain someone being in the top 7 has also become true in my side of the predictions.
So P8, I've gone for Ocon. I think Esty Bestie is going to have another good season. I think he'll just be a consistent point scorer, put in those performances like he did this year, where kind of unexpectedly, and I could just see Ocon being that kind of, what do you call him, a silent assassin or something, where he's just underrated, just putting in those points. And yeah, I think P8 would be a good result for him.
We now move to P7. Yes, go on, Tommy. Pull the smug face. I've gone for Fernando Alonso. I am so excited to see what this Aston Martin can do. I pray that this is right. I pray actually that I'm wrong, that he's even higher up the drivers' standings than this, because seeing a Fernando Alonso energized, fighting it with the top dogs, is exactly what every single person wants if you like entertaining racing. Like, the absolute tenacity and aggression that Fernando Alonso would bring, if that Aston Martin can get podiums, it will blow everyone's minds. That man will be the most dive-bomby person I think we can ever see. Like, I can't wait. I really hope so. But if it's not that good, it still looks decent. And Fernando Alonso is very much known for getting the most out of a rubbish car. And if the car's half rubbish at times, but half good, Alonso will be picking up the points, I'm sure, as long as it doesn't blow up all the time.
P7, no surprise. I have stuck with my prediction, which I'm really hoping is an absolute worldie of a prediction, because no one believed it at the start, but after testing, big hype. I've also gone for Fernando Alonso. I am just praying with every bit of my body that this is actually true and Aston Martin are going to be good, because Alonso in the mix would just be so damn good for F1, like you say.
Okay, we now go to the top 6, where we both have all 3 of the top teams still left to choose from. For me, P6 is George Russell. I believe that Mercedes, oh my God, as much as in my head, I was thinking Hamilton surely is going to win. It's going to come back. Mercedes are going to figure out this bloody philosophy that they've been trying to make work for over a year now. But it doesn't look like it's good enough. Again, every onboard we saw of the Mercedes, it just looked like they were wrestling it. It didn't look convincing. And for that reason, I can't see Russell any higher than 6th.
I've also gone for George Russell P6. I just don't believe that Mercedes is going to be all that this year, which is a shame, because we want to see him in that mix, and the more people at the front, the better. But I'm just not convinced that. I know Russell had a great season last year, but I think Hamilton will have the edge on him, and I just don't have faith in Mercedes at the moment, which is a crazy thing to think after 8 years of just going. Even when they were having trouble in testing last year, I was one of those people that's like, nah, they've won the championship easy. I don't believe it for a second. But here we are again, thinking that Mercedes might not be all that.
Yeah, potentially the 3rd fastest car, maybe 4th fastest at the start of the year, potentially, if Aston Martin are very much in the mix. So there'll be no surprise that P5, I've gone for Lewis Hamilton. I think that, again, he'll beat George Russell over the course of the year, in my opinion. It also depends on how experimental Hamilton's going to be for how long of the season, because realistically, if Mercedes are the 3rd fastest car and quite far off Red Bull and Ferrari, they may well go down the route of just trying to figure out again what's gone wrong with the car and how they can make an experimental setup work. It's a shame, because it's such an eye-watering, mouth-watering prospect to have those 3 teams with those 6 drivers getting involved with each other. It just is such an amazing lineup for those 3 teams. But Mercedes look like they've fallen short again.
I have gone a little bit different and gone P5 Carlos Sainz. I just think that this is not to say that I don't think Sainz will be closer to Leclerc, but I think I could envision it being very close, kind of like what we had this last year gone by, where kind of between 4th, 5th, 6th, like it's swapping around and quite close. They might not have the electric start that they had this year, which is sad to see.
Stop
even
saying it out loud, Tommy. It hurts, okay? I'm trying to believe, but we move to P4, and it is Carlos Sainz for me. He's had a year now to bed himself into that Ferrari atmosphere, and I think he did a pretty good job, to be fair. Well, he's been obviously there a little bit longer than that, but in terms of the new car and whatnot, he took a little bit of time to get used to that Ferrari car. But once he did, he was on the pace towards the end of the year with Leclerc. Yeah, I think P4 is a solid shout for Sainz. I think Leclerc over the course of the season will outperform him. But yeah, no higher than 4th, unfortunately, for me.
So P4, I've gone for Hamilton, despite what some people believe, where they don't think he's very good in not a very good car, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. He's shown that last year he got that car to where it shouldn't be, and then he hit that stage, didn't he, where he was finishing P2 all the time, it seemed, behind Verstappen again. So I think Hamilton's going to make the difference in the points, despite the Mercedes not being all that.
We now move to 3rd place, and this hurts me a lot. Charles Leclerc. Now, my heart was saying, and is still saying, there's hope. There's still hope there until we get to qualifying and Verstappen's on pole by 0.6 of a second, is that Ferrari might still have something. Maybe. Fingers crossed. But my brain is overriding me for this particular thing because it's proper predictions. And I feel like if I'm going to go on the record and write something down, I have to be true to what my Formula One brain says without any emotion. And it is Charles Leclerc in P3. It looks as though Ferrari are behind Red Bull. Red Bull look so ominous, so good. Like their onboards, it just looks flowing. and especially Perez on the last day, it just seems to be clicking. You put Verstappen behind the wheel, I think he's going to be clear this season, which is not good. Yeah, P3 for Charles Leclerc for me.
Yeah, I've also gone in P3 for Charles Leclerc. I think he'll get, a few wins, maybe a few more poles like he did.
Wins? I'm not even that hopeful at this point, but yeah.
Really?
On.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think there'll be moments where I think he'll, maybe, dare I say it's when Red Bull have issues, he's going to be the one to pick up the pieces. But after testing, it's really hard to look past Red Bull and how incredible their test was, and that car just looked absolutely ridiculous. So not really much of a surprise for the next two.
In second place in the championship, I've gone for Sergio Perez, of course. Sergio Perez. I mean, come on. From the looks of things, the Red Bull does look like it's a step clear of everyone else. I believe Perez will just pick up the points, pick up the podiums, pick up the 1-2s behind Verstappen, and that will be enough to secure him vice champion of the world. And, I'm over it, whatever, don't care. Charles Leclerc's going to have to relinquish that title, which is not going to be great. He's going to have to be vice champion, which, still sounds good. But I think it will be quite close maybe between Leclerc and Perez, just purely because of how close I guess they were last year and whatnot. And I think Leclerc can pick up maybe quite a few second places this year. I'm not convinced about beating Verstappen unless he breaks down. So yeah, Perez, vice champion of the world.
I've also gone for Sergio Perez P2. No surprise there really after last season, but it's going to be interesting if, I say it's going to be interesting if Red Bull are miles clear. It's not going to be interesting if Red Bull are miles clear. However, obviously, if we do get a situation again where the Red Bull is quite far ahead, reliability is going to come into it, and those races where Verstappen does have an off day, if the Red Bull's so far clear that it's just an easy Perez win, or we're going to have a nice battle between the other guys. Yeah, God, that Red Bull, even as a fan of Max Verstappen, it is just a little bit concerning because I don't want him to run away with it. So come on, Aston.
For P1, I've gone for Max Verstappen. He is the inevitable. He has got every infinity stone in his gauntlet. He's going to click his fingers, and it's going to be a 23-0 Max Verstappen whitewash. He's going to win every single race of the year. Can you tell I'm trying to jinx it? And look, he is the best driver on the grid right now. And if the car is what it suggests it is from testing, he'll be world champion. There's no doubt in my mind. Zero.
Yeah. You can work out that I've also gone for P1 Max Verstappen, even as the pessimistic Verstappen fan that never puts in P1 in any predictions ever. It's very hard to go against it right now with how that test went, how he was performing last season, and might even have a better car than last year, particularly at the start of the season, which was at the point that he struggled, or at least with reliability and getting that car to how he liked. So, yes, ominous is the going to be the buzzword, I think, for Red Bull, at least for the start. But whether that budget cap and wind tunnel time sort of affects their development, we'll have to wait and see.
We certainly will. Max Verstappen to make it the three-peat. That's what we both reckon. So let us know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. We'd love to see your top 20, or just send us a message on social media. And that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching or listening to this 20th to first prediction video. We're going to be doing predictions every single race weekend on the Thursday, so you can look forward to that both on podcast and on YouTube as well. We'll be live streaming on Twitch, Matt P1 Tommy, for the watch-alongs of the qualifying and the race. And we're going to be live as well for Free Practice 1 for this particular Grand Prix weekend. So look forward to that. That is it. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you very soon for another Max Verstappen masterclass of a season. Okay, bye.
Bye.